Welcome to the 2022 Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is Shiley Beta, and I'm the president of the Interact Club. The Interact Club is a community service club run by students of the Beverly Hills High School.
Hi, my name is Lauren Mandel, and I'm the president of Teen BHEF. Teen BHEF is an organization specified towards raising money for the school district and helping communities in need.
It is important to state that Teen BHEF and the Interact Club are impartial to any candidates. Questions have been formulated by students only without the help or influence of any adults or supervisors. No biases are affecting the process of this forum, which is solely led by the members of the student body.
Now, I will be explaining how the questions are going to be asked and answered. The first question will be asked to candidate number 1. Once candidate number 1 has completed answering the first question, candidate number 2 will answer the same question, and so on. The second question will then be asked to candidate number 2, and it will go through the same process. There will be timers in the front row to indicate how much time you have left for each question. Throughout the forum, the timers will hold up 3 different colored pieces of paper. If they are holding up a green piece of paper, that means you're allowed to start answering the question. If they are holding up a yellow piece of paper, that means you have 1 minute left. And if they're holding up a red piece of paper, you are out of time.
Before we start asking our questions, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to give an introduction. Candidate 1, we'll start with you.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank Teen BHEF and Interact for hosting this. My name is Farah Dotis. I'm the mother of 2 children here in the BHUSD. I went to Yale University for undergrad and got my bachelor's degree. After college, I worked in several industries, but once I had kids, my life went in a whole new direction. A friend roped me into becoming treasurer of our kids' grade school PTA, and that began my educational volunteerism here in BHUSD. I have been PTA treasurer, council auditor, executive vice president, communications co-chair, and council reflections chair, a member of 2 separate school site councils, and I am currently in my 3rd year as president of the Beverly Hills Education Foundation, or BHEF. I've also been a member of 7 district advisory committees, including the Career and Technical Education Committee, the Technology Committee, 2 principal selection committees, an assistant principal selection committee, and 2 textbook adoption committees. Basically, I live and breathe this district. I love collaborating with admin, teachers, staff, parents, and kids to implement and carry out programs that engage children and that make that spark light up in their minds and hearts. I am proudly endorsed by our Beverly Hills Teachers Association, the organization Moms in Office, which is by moms for moms, our local Beverly Hills Democratic Club, and the LA County and California Democratic Party. With my many years here, I have the ability to build not only consensus, but also a sense of community, so that we all work together to take meaningful and positive ownership of important educational initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 2.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Judy Kermani Manucheri, and I'm so thrilled to be running for Beverly Hills Unified District Governing Board. Thank you to our students for hosting and facilitating this opportunity for us. It's really great to get to know all of you. I'd like to share a little bit about me. I actually have a lot in common with you guys. I went to school here. I went to Horace Mann, and I was student council president. I went to Beverly High here, and I was ASB president. And then I went to UCLA, where I graduated from my undergrad, and I went down the street to USC, and I got my JD from Gold School of Law. I've been practicing as a construction and real estate attorney for over 17 years, and that's really, what I've been doing a lot of. And in that time, I've overseen over $350 million in construction and real estate transactions. So the size of our district budget of 90 million plus is not something that's new to me. And our bond funds are figures that I've been working with a lot already. I know what families like yours are dealing with because I'm doing it right alongside your parents on a daily basis. I've got 3 kids in the district. My son is 13, my first daughter is 11, and my little chicken nugget, who's also a little girl, is 4, and they all go to school here too. I'm running to apply my particular experience to raise the expectation of excellence for all of you and for my own kids too. I hope to make excellence the mindset at BHUSD, and I am honored to have the opportunity to represent you and your classmates as one united district, and I hope that after tonight you'll know that you're ready to ask your parents to vote for Judy Manucheri come November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 3.
Well, first of all, my name is Rochelle Marcus, and I'd like to thank the Teen Beverly Hills and the Interact Club for sponsoring this forum. I really appreciate it, and I just want to share that with you. And now I can tell you a little bit about myself. Well, I did not grow up in California. I was born and raised in Minnesota. But after high school, I attended UCLA. I wanted to get away from home. And so I attended UCLA for 2 years, and then after 2 years, I went back to the University of Minnesota, where I graduated with my bachelor's degree in education and recreation and a minor in speech. I always knew that I wanted to come back to California. So for the first 3 years, I taught in Minnesota at a small community called Bloomington, Minnesota. And then I decided I was going to apply for a job. Now, there was only one city in this whole state that I would have gone to, and that was Beverly Hills. I had often heard that they were the ivory tower. Oh, okay, so let me just tell you that my children went to school here. I also have lived in the community for over 50 years, and I would like to say that I have taught practically every subject under the sun, and I've been at all 5 schools at one time or another, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of this school system, and I hope I can continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 4.
Hello, I am Dr. Michala Amir-Salkin, and I want to thank Teen BHEF and Interact. I love seeing students take an active role in choosing who is going to run your schools. Thank you for KBEV for broadcasting tonight. And I want to thank everyone who came. It is truly wonderful to see how our community cares about BHUSD's future. As I walk around the neighborhoods campaigning, the question I get most often is, why? You can't make anything better, but I can make BHUSD better. Now, I grew up in Beverly Hills and I attended Hawthorne. I did my undergraduate studies at Cornell University and I earned my medical degree at Columbia University. I returned home to do my residency in obstetrics and gynecology at Cedars-Sinai. Then I had a solo practice in town. And now I teach at USC's Keck School of Medicine. I left my practice to help my son, a child with unique strengths and challenges. BHUSD has given him a fantastic education, both academically and in life skills. But that took a lot of advocacy on my part. During the process, I learned how the system works and how to work the system, and developed strong relationships with teachers and administrators. During the past few years of upheaval, I have been a voice for the community, reaching across the isolation and mistrust to help guide BHUSD's way through these storms. My son is thriving, but I look around and I see that BHUSD is not. I am running for school board because I believe that all students should get an education that enables them to succeed in both school and life. I will advocate for all the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 5.
Good evening. My name is Janessa Lavoie, and I want to thank the Rotary Club, the Beverly Hills Education Foundation, KBEV, and you, the students, for hosting this forum. I grew up in Orange County, and I spent much of my childhood in the ballet studio. I'm classically trained in ballet. I train in applied behavioral analysis as well, and I've worked with children with autism, high-low functioning, ADHD, Asperger's for the last 14 years as a behavioral therapist. My interest in running for the school board here is to empower you, the students, to reach your full potential by prioritizing academic excellence. My platform focuses on math, special education, arts, and the depoliticization of the curriculum. I am pro-parent, pro-student, pro-academics, anti-bureaucracy. No child left behind is my campaign slogan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Camille Kaiserman, and I'm the Interact Junior Representative and the Team BHEF Vice President. So starting with candidate number 1, the question is, why are you running for the Board of Education, and what differentiates you from other candidates and school board members?
Thanks so much for that question, Camille. Why am I running? Because it is time. I have been a volunteer here for 10 years. As you heard, I have many positions that I've had in the past, and I just know how this district operates. I know all the people involved. I know basically from students to parents to school site admin, other staff, and district admin. I've worked with them all for at least 3 to 5 years, especially on my position as president of BHEF. I've been asked before to run, and I just didn't feel ready. But I finally decided that this is the time for me to do this. I feel that I have all the relationships in place. I know where all the puzzle pieces have been put and placed for the foundation of quality education in our district, and we just have to put them together and move forward. So I am ready to go. I've had my sleeves rolled up for 10 years. I don't plan on rolling them down anytime soon. That's my reason for running. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Now can we have candidate number 2?
Thank you for your question, Camille. I'm running because as a former in-house attorney for Panda Express, a construction and real estate attorney, and a mom of 3, I believe that I have a proven track record of academic and professional excellence, and which is not voluntary based, meaning that I have proven measurable results. And I can bring that to the board to inspire our district, to elevate our approach and our operations. What I think is that I'm the only one for a lot of things that can be brought to this board and to this district. I'm the only alumni of the entire Beverly Hills public school system. I'm the only one who next year will have a child at the high school level, at the middle school level, and at the elementary school level. So I'm really going to be experiencing what all of you are experiencing on a daily basis. I'm the only one who has a JD, and I know how to read contracts, and I've done a lot of that. And I have experience in construction and real estate, and I think that is one of our pressing issues at this time. In addition to that, I have a lot of connections with the city. I've been on the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary of Beverly Hills, and I think that I have a unique blend of professional and personal experience to really enable the city and the district and the families to have a bridge to one another. And I think I've said it all.
All right, thank you. Candidate number 3.
Why am I running again, and what makes me qualified? I have spent almost 60 years of my life involved in education as a Beverly Hills teacher, parent, resident, and school board member. I'm passionate and dedicated about our students' education and our school district. I just cannot imagine not being able to continue to contribute to our district again, and I'm seeking another term. My mantra as a teacher and board member has always been students first in every action I have made, and in the best interest of the students. I have studied the issues, I learn the issues before I make a decision. The last 4 years that I've been on the board have provided me with invaluable knowledge, experience, and I just think that it will be invaluable for the future. I will be up to speed and running the day that I am reelected. I remember once Mel Spitz saying it takes at least 2 or 3 years to really get your feet on the ground and get going as a board member. And I have to tell you, he was right. But I am there already, and I'm ready to take my seat again. Thank you.
Thank you. Now candidate number 4.
I am running because I believe that it is time for someone to be on the board who will...
Turn your microphone on.
Oh, thanks, Janessa. I was just so jumping in, so raring to go. So again, I am running because I believe that it is time for somebody to be on the board who is going to be looking out for the students, somebody who is going to be actively advocating for you and what you need. There are so many issues in our school district. There is the dysfunctional construction situation. There's the inadequate education. There is the harm that was done to our social connections through all of COVID. The board has not been prioritizing the students' needs. I will raise the bar on education. I will pay attention to what is going on, and I will make sure that there is accountability in the construction and the finance. And I will work hard in many ways as a communicator and a unifier to bring our community back together. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now candidate number 5.
As a behavioral therapist who has worked with children for over 14 years, I have been able to deliver positive results to the families I have worked with. I want to take my experience and use it on a larger scale by serving on the Governing Board of Education here in Beverly Hills. I am trained in applied behavioral analysis, having worked with children with special needs, as I mentioned before. Before that, I was a professional ballet dancer, and I believe this real-life experience, knowledge, and behavioral training has equipped me to serve on this board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now for this next question, it's going to start with candidate number 2. The question is there a particular issue that is motivating you to serve on the BHUSD school board?
Thank you so much for your question, and it's a really good one. I'll share with you the particular issue that I think I'm most well known for. And I would say that why it's so important is because this is how I would apply my intense passion to improve some things at the district. You may have known, because you go to school here, that we had over $700 million in taxpayer bond money. And we probably only have about 120 million, give or take, left. And that was supposed to go to a lot of new schools. It hasn't happened. And it's quite unfortunate. And what's really unfortunate is that I think we have to get into a groove of being able to comment and share what's on our mind. I really advocated for more oversight and transparency, and I brought my background and my experience to that. A lot of people talk about what they might do and what they could do. As a parent, I actually was going on site and I took video footage of there being no construction happening at any of the facilities at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. And so I really bring my motto of trust but verify to everything that I'm doing. And I think that the fact that I would actually get in there and dig in and figure out what is or what isn't going on. I learned that nothing's going on. You wouldn't even hear a hammer hitting a nail at that time on a Tuesday morning. And I circulated that footage to the board, to the council, to other community leaders, to our families. And that's really what started to bring about a little bit of change. And we finally, applied best practices, went out for a bid, and we're on the right track. The way I approach the construction is, in my opinion, really relevant because it demonstrates that I'm independent-minded and I can actually think.
I'm sorry,
you got it. Yeah. That's fine.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Candidate number 3.
4 years ago, when I ran for the school board, I had at the top of my agenda or my platform was academics. And again, academics is again the top list on my platform. Recently, under the direction from the board, the superintendent, his cabinet, and the board met for the first time in a joint session and developed a new mission for our school called Educational Excellence. And from that, we developed a tremendous new vision which says that our students will thrive in a complex, changing environment or in a world. And what will make our students ready in this world is academics. So there's that word again. And I would love to say that that is, again, the top of my list. And I want to just give you a couple of ideas. Number one, that I want to make sure that we monitor the students' progress with assessments during the school year, and that those students who are not meeting the assessments or meeting the standards will be given, will have intervention programs and tutors, air tutors. Also, we should set higher standards for the students taking the CAS, SAT, PSAT exams. And we should try to enroll more students in the AP classes. But most of all, we must remember that some of our students are not going to be those particular scholars and need other types of classes. So we must continue to provide such classes like fashion design, cooking, engineering, computer programming, and other things which will be alternate interests for the students. So again, academics is at the top of my list, just as it was 4 years ago.
All right, thank you so much. Now, candidate number 4.
Thank you so much. There is so much that I'm going to agree with, because for me, again, education has been number one. We brought our son into BHUSD when he was a small boy with tremendous gifts, academic gifts, but tremendous behavioral problems because he was so frustrated in the schools he had gone to previously. We were at Hawthorne, and he was allowed to move through the education at his own pace. Nothing special. Everybody else got what he got. They just got it a few years later. But we did not realize until reconfiguration, when we went to the middle school, that at Hawthorne, we were living in a little bubble. And when we got to the middle school, we realized that what Daniel got was not what everybody was getting, but that rather the quality of the education varied. And it is very important in the elementary school to make sure that all our students master the fundamentals. Common Core is about what teachers teach. It's not about making sure that the students learn what's been taught. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that every student masters the topic and proves that he or she understands the topic before moving on to the next one. In the upper grades, it's important to recognize that people learn differently and have different interests and different gifts, and to reach out to the children where they are, to the students, to find what sparks, whether that is an academically minded student or a more practically minded student. So I don't want to follow the Department of Education's willingness to just, do a one-size-fits-all education. Education should be for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. And now next up, candidate 5.
Thank you. Special education is a topic that's very dear to my heart, as I have been working in that field for over 14 years. A review done in 2018 of the BHUSD special education program found fiscal mismanagements. It found that the staff and principals had limited to no training in special education. It found an issue with position controls, which is an essential tool for budgeting. And it also found there were no classes for children with mild to moderate disabilities. If elected, this is something I aim to improve. And what I will focus on: to monitor position controls, ensure the staff have proper training, ensure we are using the most current research-based methods such as applied behavioral analysis, and ensure that we are offering classes for children with mild to moderate disabilities. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Now lastly, candidate number 1.
Thanks, Camille. So the issue most motivating me to serve on the school board is definitely educational excellence. I know that's our new buzzword here, but it really does resonate with me. I think for the past several years, the board has been, dealing with many, many issues. But I think our main focus as the Beverly Hills Unified School District governing board members is we're here for the school district. We're here for the education of our kids. So what I would look to do is to expand academic enrichment for not just the gifted and talented kids, but also the B and C level kids who try really hard, don't get those straight A's, but still deserve to have that spark lit in them. I would also work to make sure there's stronger articulation between grade levels, especially now that we're a TK5 middle school, high school district. Want to make sure that the communication between the fifth and sixth grade, as well as eighth and ninth grade teachers, is strengthened. They have time and flexibility to work together, so that any interest that a child has can continue seamlessly between these three different age levels. And also I want to increase our dual enrollment courses, which are the courses where you can get both high school and college credit. So that would require more professional development for teachers so that they can be, get that certification in order to teach those classes. BHEF already funds a lot of these initiatives, especially innovative teacher grants. We just announced last week the five winners, of the innovative teacher grants this year. So we're really trying to support teachers, very different thinking, doing different things with the curriculum, and always focusing on the strategic plan of the district. And we've been doing this for 2 years now. We've been
your
funding.
time is up.
Oh, hello. That's a stop.
Okay. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Charlie Brock, and I'm affiliated with both Teen BHEF, and Interact. Each candidate has answered question number 2, so let's move on to question number 3. Starting with candidate number 3, here's the question. How would you determine your budget priorities? In other words, where do you think funding is most needed in BHUSD and why? Yes. Is the microphone off? Okay. Hello, does it work now? Sorry about that. Starting with candidate number 3, here's the question. How would you determine your budget priorities? In other words, where do you think funding is most needed in BHUSD and why?
Thank you for that question. That's a very important question, and we face that every year on the board, as you know. Fortunately, this past year and ever since I was elected on the platform of a balanced budget, we have had a balanced budget, which has been wonderful. The most important thing about our budget is what percentage of it goes for the faculty, the certificated, the classified, their benefits, and items like that. And when what's left over, you have to figure out how you're going to be able to spend the rest. And such things as the facilities, putting money aside for the facilities for maintenance, future maintenance, books, instructional materials, and what have you. So you really have a lot that's already predetermined when you do set the budget in in June when you set the budget. However, I would like to make sure that we do make sure that our classes in education are operating at maximum numbers, because I think sometimes our classes are small and we should be making sure that the number of teachers we need are the number to keep it a critical mass of students. And if we don't have those numbers, then unfortunately we might have to let some teachers go, because I think that's a very important thing. And since it's about 75 to 78% of our budget, that's the reason that we need to check the teachers and the number of students that they have in the class. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. Now candidate 4, same question.
Thank you. Setting aside all the monies that are the bond monies for construction and the dedicated monies for everything that's already been spoken for, I think right now where we really need to use our monies and focus our opportunities has to do with mental health. The past few years have just been so tremendously destructive. Our children have lost social skills. They've become anxious and depressed. There's increased bullying, increased drug abuse. I have a few solutions. I know that for my son, when he was in elementary school, there was social skills training. He was a kid who needed that. Well, right now, all our children have lost their social skills after isolation. And so I would like to see more school psychologists, and I'd like to see that brought into the regular classroom. I'd also like to see more instructional aides in classrooms who can help dealing with behavioral problems, freeing up the teachers to actually be teaching. Now, there are all kinds of wonderful programs that exist, like Norman Aid and the new Bulldog Aid, but those are for students who are in crisis. And right now, so many students are living in a constant state of quiet stress and anger and loneliness. We need to actually listen to you guys to find out what it is that you feel you really need. But mental health, mental wellness is an active process, and I think we really need to be using our resources to pay attention to that.
Thank you, candidate number 4. Now moving on to candidate number 5. Same question to you.
If elected, I will allocate funds towards math. Math proficiency is at 61% in this district, and it's been declining for the past 7 years. The United States is ranked 36 in math out of 79 countries participating in the program for international student assessment. We are ranked 18th in science and 13th in reading. We are below third world countries. Our students cannot compete on a world stage. And I would vote, instead of allocating money towards politically trendy issues, I would focus on the failing academic scores and the crumbling special education program, and allocate funds, which will piggyback after what Mihail said about mental health, towards expanding the quality and quantity of available art programs. Research shows when students engage in an art form or athletic program, a group art form, it will improve their verbal SAT scores, their reading and math, cognitive development, spatial awareness. That'll be my priority if elected.
Thank you, candidate number 5. Now moving on to candidate number 1. Same question to you.
When it comes to funding, I would fund things similarly as what Nihal and Ms. Marcus were talking about. The thing is, we do have great educational partners here in the district in terms of the PTAs, PTSA, and BHEF. Thankfully, we have that, and with those partners, we have been able to fund Norman Aid and help Allie Norman Franks out there, the counselor there, as well as Bulldog Aid, which is what Kristen Delfasi Hartley is starting up. And I would say that it's a little bit of a fallacy that it's just for students in crisis, because these counseling centers, wellness centers, are really for students, even if they just need to decompress. It's important to have these so that hopefully students don't end up in crisis. It's important to have these stopgaps before students get there. But in addition, I would like to have additional funding set aside for teachers, for mental health resources for teachers, because during COVID, the isolation and the pandemic, teachers really had to pivot. They were really our first responders when it came to our kids. I think they need supports as well. So I would really look into either providing mental health counseling on the campuses or some sort of mental health resource coordinator, so that it helps teachers navigate their own mental health needs.
Thank you, candidate number 1. Now moving on to candidate number 2. The same question.
Thank you for your question. I used to be an in-house attorney for Panda Express for almost 5 years, and that was a company that at that time had over 20,000 employees on an international basis. So the size of our district funds is not something that's new to me. And as a business attorney, I'm constantly advising my clients on their budgets, loans, and other financials. So for me, it's really easy to sift through what is the money actually being spent on. In terms of there being hard costs, there are a lot of things that we would not be able to change. We have to pay for our teachers and so on. I would spend a lot of money if I could, and there's a lot of COVID money lying around too, on actually addressing the academic problem that we've been seeing. I think that we need to have a really robust tutorial schedule and program so that the kids are actually being given one-on-one or two-on-one support so that they can recoup what they've lost. I think our teachers need our help in doing that. Next, I would actually enhance our student programs, the stuff you guys are doing every day, like athletics, and the other things that you have available to you, like college prep, college admissions, and so on. And third, insofar as mental health is concerned, I really think that we need to have licensed clinicians operating at every facility on campus throughout the district.
Thank you. Now moving on to question number 4, we will start with candidate number 4. Here's the question. What are your top 3 education priorities that you would accomplish during your time in office? How will you go about achieving them?
So first of all, my number
Your microphone.
Sorry, I keep doing that. I just get so excited. My number 1 priority would be mastering the fundamentals. Again, as I alluded to, the Common Core, which is what the California Department of Education bases things on, is a matter of measuring what the teachers are teaching, which is very important. But if the teacher is up teaching a lesson, let's say fractions, and nobody in her class is understanding it, then has the teacher really taught? And that is the issue. So I think what we need to do is we need to move to a model of checking with each step to make sure that when it's each topic, that the students have all mastered one topic before moving on to the next, or at least understanding it, maybe not perfectly, but having a good grasp of a topic before moving on to the next, because it's all too easy for students to get lost and left behind. I recognize that different students have different ways of learning and different areas of interest and different gifts and talents, and so I would want to really be finding a spark, a passion for each student, and a way to get each student engaged in the material. In the older years, we will start seeing and allowing our students to diverge in what they study and what kind of classes they take. I would like to see more of the practical CTE type classes in things like, well, I'd like to see gaming, because I think that would get people excited to learn about software design, which is such an important part of the global economy. And I think I'm running out of time.
Sorry, candidate number 4, your time is up. Now moving to candidate number 5, same question to you.
I will prioritize math, history, and special ed. I will advocate for results-oriented math reforms, since we are at 64% math proficiency here. Obviously, what is currently being, or how we're currently teaching, or what the curriculum we are currently using is not working. We are not getting those positive results that I think everybody in this community wants. So I will collaborate with the superintendent, my fellow board members, and take a look at the curriculum, take a look at the teaching methods, make sure, our teachers are trained, and make sure we're using the most current research-based teaching methods. That's very important. I've worked with children, like I said, for 14 years, and if I didn't have the proper training, I couldn't help tutor my student. So that's really important, and something I would focus on is making sure our teachers have proper training. And then history, U.S. students cannot compete on a world stage. U.S. students have they lack basic knowledge for U.S. and world history. So I would focus on history, make sure we're teaching again, instead of focusing on politically trendy issues, I would vote for honest and factual history. Make sure we're giving our children a good U.S. history and world history education. That's very important. And lastly, special education. Everything I stated before, that's what I would do.
Thank you, candidate number 5. Now moving on to candidate number 1, same question to you.
So my top 3 priorities would be, firstly, maintaining our amazing school safety and security program. I've worked hard or long with Mark Mead, who's the current director of security here. He was the principal at the high school for the last 6 years, so we have a very close working relationship. I also know Sean O'Connor, who's over at the command center. They're doing a great job there, and they've mentioned that there's just a few more areas that they would like to improve upon to really secure our schools and make them have a second perimeter of redundancy. So I'd work with them on that. In terms of academics, I do have to say that I find it strange that people keep talking about academic excellence, but also kind of the career and technical education pathways as being sort of separate. I don't think these two things are mutually exclusive. I think they all help to enrich a child as a whole. I mean, I myself went to Yale University. I studied music theory, but I also went to fashion design school afterwards because I decided I wanted to try something new. And it did. It lit a spark in me in different ways. I think kids can find that spark in their high school careers in both avenues. And we have an amazing program here. And in terms of the last priority would really be getting the word out on our amazing schools. I mean, you kids know it. There's just awesome programs here, awesome pathways. In terms of an expose, if you want to have an expose on the schools, I invite the community to come to the what do you call that? The high school tour that's being led by the PTSA this Friday, because we have school students returning from private schools this year, especially. And I think it's just going to keep increasing because people are realizing that what we offer here is at or better than what the private schools are offering, and the kids are getting into the same colleges.
Sorry, candidate number 1, your time is up.
Thank you.
Moving on to candidate number 2, the same question applies to you.
Can you ask your question again? It was about academics, right?
Yes, of course. What are your top 3 education priorities that you would accomplish during your time in office? How will you go about achieving them?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I actually think that I'm the only candidate that has shared with, the district an actual academic plan. I think that we all have ideas about, I'd focus on this, I'd focus on that. I actually think that we need to have a data-driven analysis and a data-driven response. For me, it's not about what I want, it's about what the kids need. So it would be important to conduct an analysis going back for at least 5 years, using that data to really identify specific weaknesses. So we need to figure out what we need to fix first. We need to figure out, is it a teacher issue, a student issue, a school issue within the district? In other words, first we need to determine who's actually fallen behind and why. What are, the common denominators for those kids? Then I would implement a data-driven response, which would include, first, as I shared earlier, I think we need a really robust tutorial program to help students recover from pandemic learning loss. The goal being to at least meet or exceed grade level standards. Then I would hope to provide support to teachers through administrative leadership. And I would want to connect them with other teachers who've consistently had students that have scored high on the tests so that they can share best practices with one another. And finally, I think we need to make improving test scores a district priority. I think we need to order the practice tests from the state. I think we all need to, as schools, practice and really focus on how we test take, since a lot of kids were home for a couple of years. And I think that, I think we need information, and I think we need to use that information as part of our solution. For me, it's not just about ideas and words about, what could be good. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Thank you. Is it not on again? Hello. Okay. Candidate number 3, your turn.
Well, it's very hard to prioritize one specific thing because I think of all the things that are coming up in our district sitting on the board. In addition to the excellence of academics, which is, of course, number 1, and we've got a new textbook adoption coming for the mathematics program that we pick and choose that wisely. That is a big priority, and to do that also for English language arts and for science, so that would be a very big priority, how we're going to address and improve the scores in those 3 areas. The second important thing to me is that we get to hire certificated and classified employees that are excellent. And I only think that we can do that by having a strong recruiting and hiring and training and retraining the top field in the field of education. So it's very important to us that we keep and we train the teachers with professional development and activities that will allow them to share their classrooms with other teachers. I also think that the other thing that's very big that's coming up that we have to make sure we prioritize is the new TK program, where it's going to be, how it's going to be placed, and the teachers that are going to be there, and getting the teachers for them, the facilities and what have you. Because at one point they're going to be completely 1 year, total 4 year for TK, and that's going to be a big factor in helping to increase the enrollment in the school. So between the academics, the teachers, and the TK program, I think we've got a lot of things coming in addition to all of the things that have been mentioned so far. Many of the ideas that they've mentioned so far are still up there in the top echelon of things that we still need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate number 3, and thank you, candidates, for answering the questions.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Josh Hollander and I'm the Senior Representative for Interact Club. We will now move on to question 5, starting with candidate 5. Here's the question. Besides attending school board meetings, what will you be doing as a school board member to hear students' concerns?
That's a great question. I will be very accessible. I've already made relationships and built rapport with business owners in this community, and I've also spoke with a city councilwoman, and we plan on collaborating with each other and working on a couple different initiatives to partner the students here in the high school, possibly the middle school, and getting involved in the local businesses and getting involved in local government. And so that's something I would focus on.
Thank you. Candidate number 1, same question.
So as a volunteer, I'm generally on campus all the time anyway. So I would simply keep doing what I'm doing. I show up to the school sites. I talk to all the teachers, parents, administrators who are here, and the students. I check in with them. I like to kid around with kids because you guys are fun. But also, I would, as Janessa was saying, I am working with various entities in the community. I have one woman who is on the Women in Business Committee and Chamber of Commerce. We're going to try and get some internships going for kids on campus. But I also work with Cindy Dubin, who's the coordinator of the Career and Technical Education Program. And she also provides lots of internships, opportunities for children, just making headway into the community and making relationships happen so that kids have expansive knowledge outside of the classroom as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate 2, same question.
Hi, thank you for your question. So important to be in touch with all of you and to see what's on your mind. I think I shared earlier that next year I'm going to have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary schooler. So a lot of that is going to be totally firsthand information, whether it's because I'm taking you guys to Hebrew school in my car or because I'm just going to be hanging around. I also am a member of Hawthorne School Site Council and an executive board member of BVMS's PTA. So that gives me a lot of access to the experiences going on a daily basis. One thing I think is truly important is the experience and relationships I've already had with the city. I happen to be on the Chamber of Commerce already, as well as Rotary of Beverly Hills the last couple years. And I have already been forging relationships and creating synergy after talking to a lot of you guys. I'm going to give you some examples. Just in the last couple weeks alone, I've been hooking up some law firm friends of mine with the Career Center to create paid internship opportunities. Later this month, I'm welcoming 8 to 10 of you high schoolers to my office for an afternoon so you can experience what I do on a daily basis, and I'm super excited about that. In addition, I'm creating a relationship with some of the science teachers at BVMS so that we're gonna hopefully do a 3-part series. A friend of mine is a NASA JPL scientist who specializes in jet propulsion. My best friend is a data mining specialist for Grace Note. And I have a speaker that I heard at Rotary who's a specialist and a professor who teaches about the sun and the universe. So I think that I'm already in touch and bringing to you guys what I know and what I'm exposed to. And more than anything, in the last couple of weeks during this campaign, I can't tell you how many kids have reached out to me to ask me.
Thank you. I think the time is up.
Sure. You run a tight ship.
Candidate number 3, same question.
Well, I can only tell you what I've been doing as a member of the board for the last 4 years. First and foremost, the one most important thing I do is I attend all of the student events that I possibly can. I want them to know that I'm a part of the student body with them. And I think that they love that. They love to see a board member at the events, regardless of what kind it is. I went to wrestling matches. I went to the awards programs. And if it wasn't here tonight, I would be at the girls' volleyball playoff game that's taking place at this very minute. Mr. Ellis had arranged for me a parking place because I love sports. I mean, that many of you know as a PE teacher that was, but let's get on to the others. First of all, what did I do? I attended all of the board meetings, number one. I did not miss a one, even when I was incapacitated at one point. I attend all the finance and CBOC meetings that are there. I study the agenda like crazy. I ask questions. I don't take them for granted. I am there to find out why they're there and what that means and so on. I attend PTA meetings when I can. I interact with city events at all times, being a present to develop the relationship between our city and the school. As a matter, I'm also going to be, I've been a judge at the science fair for the last umpteen years. I love doing that. That's the science in my background. And first and foremost of all, I am open to suggestions for what things can be done. And I listen and I weigh them and I listen to everybody's suggestions. So I have been busy and I'm hoping I can keep busy. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate 4, same question.
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question for me, please.
The question was, besides attending school board meetings, what are you willing to do as a school board member to hear students' concerns?
I think that's a very important question, and I think that it speaks to the fact that students really are not feeling heard by the current leadership in BHUSD. I think it's very important because the whole point of being a member of the school board is to create a place for you. It's to create a place for the students to grow and learn and explore and become the best versions of themselves. And in order to be able to do that, we need to be listening to you. So the very first thing I would do would be to have meetings with the students. The ASB is the student representative at BHHS, and so sitting down with the members of ASB to find out what are the student concerns. But there are also other groups around the school to talk with the different groups and see what they're doing, visit them, have them show me what they do so I can learn what they care about and what they want to see. Same thing at the other schools. There is leadership at all levels of student in the high school, the middle school, and the elementary schools. And I think that it's very important for the board members to be listening to what your concerns are, what your wishes are, and what your ideas are, and then bring them back to have communication and to hopefully implement things to make your lives better. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to question 6, we will continue with candidate number 1.
Excuse me, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
You as a student, what do you want from your board members?
From our board members, I believe the biggest impact they can have is improving education. I feel like construction, I don't know the impact that you guys are able to have, but it needs to speed up. Athletics, I'm a competitive athlete on the sports teams. I feel like a lot of the funding going to athletics can improve. But the biggest thing would be, as you guys mentioned, education and the mental health. So yeah, moving on.
Thank you.
To question.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Moving on to question number 6, we will continue with candidate number 1. Here's the question. What issues do you believe BHUSD needs to address in its academic program and offerings? What changes would you recommend?
Honestly, I think we're actually doing a pretty good job with our academic offerings and programs. But the changes I would recommend are really to make sure we recruit and retain excellent teachers. I think we've done that. I think we can improve upon this. And I think that we're in a really solid space right now to encourage more growth. We have finally, after several years, a really consistent administrative team at the district level, as well as school site admin teams at each school site. So I feel like people are starting to look at the district again and feel like it's a really nice place to work and to grow and to invest their time. So that is how I would address any academic needs on that front, because I do feel like we've got great programs CTE-wise and academic pathways, capstone courses that are phenomenal. We just need to make sure that our teachers stay and invest. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate 2, same question.
Thank you. I would say the biggest issue with the academic offerings is that most of the parents don't know about them. I had a wine and cheese a couple weeks ago, and there were maybe 15 high school parents, and it was my first time meeting any of them. And I brought up the pathways, actually, which is beautiful on the inside and on the outside. The presentation is gorgeous, and the materials and the classes are great, but none of these parents actually had any idea about what these pathways are and what they mean. And so that's part of who I am. I think I create bridges, and I think it's really important for the administration to know that they're doing all this amazing work, but it's not trickling down to us. So whether every family is going to get one home, whether every family will meet with a counselor starting from the 5th grade so that they can help them segue into middle school, and then not at the end of 8th grade, but at the beginning of 8th grade, another counselor, and so on. I think it's a real challenge to be a parent and not really understand what's happening. The people that are here are maybe the most involved and the most aware, but there are a lot of families who don't understand, or they're busy working, or English is not their first language. So I think that we need to really communicate better, and we need to educate them on what their potential is. A lot of the families are just missing that altogether, and it's such a waste because we do have a lot to offer them.
Thank you. Candidate 3, same question.
Well, one of the first things I think we need to do to make sure that we maintain the academic programs that we've got, we need to make sure that we train, retrain, and do a lot of professional development with our teachers, getting the best teachers possible, and making sure that they are in the right spot for the subjects that they teach. I have something that I would like to see happen that I've been talking to the administration about, and that is the development of moving the pathways of the instrumental music back to the elementary school, because I feel that children who experience music and instruments in the lower grades do something. It does something for the brain that really makes them more receptive to learning, and there's other ways to learn besides just pure academics. I'm looking at a way that we can reinstitute the instrumental music in addition to the choral music, which they have, back at the lower grades, so that we can actually move a pathway of instrumental music from the lower grades to the middle school and to the high school. I think that the numbers of kids taking instrumental music at the middle school, that's their first introduction, and many of them don't go into instrumental music at that time. And so I would like to see them get started a little bit earlier to help the instrumental program, the arts. And then I would like to say something that I'm looking forward to the development of the 2 strong elementary schools being in tune to each other with the additional educational expert that we have brought on in the elementary school. I think it's going to do a great deal to bring these 2 schools together. When we developed the middle school, the elementary schools never got quite in sync as much as the middle school did. So I would love now to know that both elementary schools are working the same together so that they have the same chances for all of the students.
Thank you. Candidate 4, same question.
I think, again, academics are so tremendously important because that is the foundation of what a school system is all about. So I would return to the issue of making sure that all our elementary students master the fundamentals as they move up. I think that we need to give our teachers the support they need to do that. California's Department of Education is trying to create a one-size-fits-all education. And everybody knows that, you know, with the exception of Brandy Melville, one size fits all really doesn't fit anybody, right? That's because Brandy Melville's so stretchy, right? It grows with you. But I believe that we can say to California, thank you so very much, Department of Education. Thank you for giving us this baseline. But we are Beverly Hills. We have resources. We have talented, dedicated teachers. We have smart students, and we have caring families. And we can raise the bar. We can challenge, and we can give our teachers the support they need to meet that challenge. We can give our students the support they need to meet those challenges. I'd also like to see more electives available so that kids may try different things to find out something that they never would have thought of that might spark their interest and add richness to their lives. I would like to see world languages be brought back. When I was at Hawthorne, I started taking French in first grade. I can still remember Monsieur Lheureux with the toy phone, one, ringy dingy. And so that is something that is very enriching to learn more about life and the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate number 5, same question.
Can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah. So what issues do you believe BHUSD needs to address in its academic programs and offerings? What changes would you recommend?
Well, being that I am the pro-parent, pro-students, pro-academics candidate, this is a great question. Thank you. First of all, I think we should take a survey of parents. I want to hear what parents have to say. What are their concerns? What do they want to see improved? Secondly, like I mentioned earlier, math proficiency, we need to focus on improving math scores and doing everything in our power to improve the math scores. And to piggyback off of what Mrs. Marcus has said about music, that is so important because studying an art form, research shows that whether it's dance, theater, music, Tai Chi, it will improve verbal SATs, it will improve those test scores, it will improve those academic scores. So that is something that I would definitely focus on because it does coincide. Studying music, ballet, I grew up in the ballet studio and I danced 5 to 6 days a week. I learned discipline, I learned teamwork, I had to memorize choreography, and that I greatly benefited from ballet and being in the ballet studio, and that helped my academic excellence. That'll be my focus.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jillian Samadi, and I am Recording Secretary of Teen BHEF. We will now move on to question number 7. Starting with candidate number 2, here is the question. What will you do to ensure education is more tailored to students' individual needs and empowers active learners that feel ownership of their academic journey?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What will you do to ensure education is more tailored to students' individual needs and empowers active learners that feel ownership of their academic journey?
Thank you so much for your question. I think that we can probably start by having some town halls with the students to really figure out what are they hoping for and what are they looking for. I would be really, interested to sit down with all of you to figure out how we can curate things a little bit better. But for me, I think that academic needs don't stand alone. We've talked a lot about academics tonight, and it's been in part of my platform from day one. But I think that a lot of kids need sports, they need athletics, they need experiences, they need field trips to enhance. So for me, I think my approach is really holistic. It's not just about books, but it's an overall experience where I think the kids need a more thriving situation. And I also think that that begins with you guys having green space and having, to not be living and operating in a construction zone. The few times that I've been here, I've gotten out of my car, gone inside the building, and gone back into my car again an hour later, and it drives me crazy, and it breaks my heart to think that this is what your experience is on a daily basis. So for me, I really want to think about things from your perspective. You may have heard I've been tasking the board to give you guys back the front lawn. I think you need some green space. I think it's about time that we should shrink the footprint of the construction. I know that some people really wanted to appear like they're doing a lot while they were actually doing not that much. And I'm ready for the trailers to be gone, for the maintenance and the operations to take their stuff back and to give you your school again.
Thank you. Candidate number 3, same question.
Well, you cannot separate the emotional and social from the academic child. So in my feeling that, though we've talked a lot about academics here, we also have to look at the social and emotional well-being of the child that will make them also do well in school. So every child, in my opinion, should have some trusted adult in the school that they can turn to help them at any time, and that they're available to them. And I think that providing the extracurricular activities such as clubs and sports teams gives the student a feeling of well-being and makes them involved. The PBIS program, how to behave, the behavior systems, all of these things enable the child to feel good about themselves so that they can then be good in their academics. So you can't take one without the other. The Norman Aid Center at the high school provides a lot of services for the students. No matter whether they're having problems or they're not having problems, it's a place to turn. And I hope that the Bulldog Center will also get up and be running very soon to help the students at middle school. Special programs like WEB, where everyone belongs, or buddy systems, all making kids feel good about themselves, tends to help the child do better in school. So you can't take one without the other. It's all tied together. So I think from the standpoint of improving the academics, I also would like to see that we keep the child's emotional and social well-being intact.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 4.
This is an issue, a question that is very dear to my heart, because if there were ever a student who needed to follow his individual path, it is my son Daniel. And we came in to BHUSD. We had to pull him out of the sweet little private school that he'd been in first grade. And we came to BHUSD in second grade. And we came in and we said, hello, we have this very gifted little boy who is a major behavioral problem. How do we do this all? And Kathy Schaefer looked at us and she said, don't worry about it. This is my school. I can deal with it. And she tested Daniel and then allowed him to move along his own individual pathway, which he has then followed all along. And if any of you know my son Daniel, you know that he's on his own very unique path. He's not doing anything different from anybody else. He's just doing it at his own speed. There is the ability at Beverly Hills to adapt. In the elementary level, they differentiate within the classroom. Now, that's a lot of work, but we have such talented teachers. If we give them the support that they need and the training that they need to help them. His second grade teacher was working with kids all the way from Daniel's level down to 2 little girls who just moved here from South Korea and didn't speak a single word of English. We have the ability here. Now that we have a middle school, there are multiple sessions of a course, and we have different tracks, the regular, the honors track. There are all kinds of electives for kids to find their passion, and we have the ability to give individualized education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now candidate number 5.
I actually would do a student survey. I want to hear from the students. I'd like to hear what you guys want to see done, and what I want to hear what you want, and what headspace you're in. And also too, I would do a mental health survey for the students. I know I personally work with children who have struggled with mental health issues, and I know what they and their parents have to face on a daily basis. And I have seen the benefits from students working with quality psychologists and psychiatrists, also paired with being in a theater program. And so, yeah, that's what I would do.
Thank you. Now candidate number 1.
So to ensure that the education is tailored to each student, I would go back to ensuring that the articulation between the grade levels is consistent and smooth in transition. So making sure that any student, going from 5th to 6th or 8th to 9th, their passions and the things that they're interested don't get lost in the mix. One thing I've done is I've been speaking to several teachers, asking them what their needs are, because they really are, again, the front line with you guys. They know you guys. They've taught you over the years. So teachers say that, it's not always about salary. It's also about time and flexibility with the curriculum. So I would speak to teachers, make sure that they have what they need in order to make your educational career a success. In addition, I think I would work more with the new instructional coaches, who I think Ms. Marcus referenced. There's Michael Sherman. He's the new instructional coach, I think, in the middle and high school levels, and then Maggie Mayberry at the TK5 level. I would work with her to make sure that our teachers feel supported, and therefore our students feel supported, and we can grow everyone's educational path in the way that they want it to be grown.
Thank you. Moving on to question 8, starting with candidate number 3. The question is, do you believe the construction at our schools, particularly the construction at the high school, is progressing as planned? Do you foresee any delays, and if elected, what measures would you take to prevent them?
Can I ask you to repeat the question one
Yes.
more time, because I do have some thoughts on that.
Do you believe the construction at our schools, particularly the construction at the high school, is progressing as planned? Do you foresee any delays, and if elected, what measures will you take to prevent them?
Thank you for that question. I was hoping that we would get to it, but we did finally. Well, as you know, I have been very frustrated by the progress of the construction program up to now, because of the people that were running the construction program and were making so much money. It was unbelievable. And so now, with the help of other members of the board, we have been able to finally change the bond manager and change to a different structure with a facility, a construction manager. And I believe that under this system, we will go forward and we will proceed. I hope that there will be no more interruptions. I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you, but as I see it right now, I have nothing but confidence in the new group. However, the one thing that I will promise this community is that I will be absolutely more transparent. There will be more accountability of the program, and I will be more, as a matter of fact, I'm making a visit to the sites tomorrow, because I now intend to spend more time at the sites. I want to see what's going on, and I want to be able to question what I see and how it's progressing. So I do think that it'll go forward. I don't see. However, there is one problem. When we get through with B3 and B4, which we will, and El Rodeo, the question is going to be the funds that are left. And that's going to be the issue, that how are we going to deal with those funds? We may have to do some creative financing. We have to maybe create a committee to discuss the complicated situation that may occur in finishing up the high school. But I for sure will see B3 and B4, the VA and the arts program completely done, and El Rodeo. So I know it's been something that's kept a lot of parents away, but I hope that will bring them back.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 4.
You, the students, you deserve to have well-designed, well-built, comfortable, clean, and safe schools to live in and learn in. Now, one thing you should know about me, I grew up in a construction family, and my mother has a saying, you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And that is something that I would bring to this ongoing construction. I think it's very important to pay attention, to do site visits, to set action items, set achievable goals, and then make sure that they are achieved. I think we need to actually bring in an independent third-party oversight, an overseer like an owner's rep who only reports to the board, who is not dependent to anybody else. We need to have transparency. We need to be sure to have real clarity and what's going on. And I know my area of expertise. I would bring in somebody who could add his or her area of expertise, whom I could trust to be reporting just to us. I think it's very important that we complete the ongoing projects with the money that we have and ensure that BHUSD fulfills its fiduciary responsibilities to the whole community. But most important, to give you all a place where you can learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 5.
I support the board's decision to vote for the audit and to bring on a new construction team. I think now we are finally moving in the right direction. For the new construction team, I would ask to see monthly billing reports, change orders, and schedules to provide an extra layer of accountability. There should be total transparency. It should not be difficult for parents to get answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate number 1, same question.
So with construction, I don't think anyone thinks it's progressing as planned. Everyone is frustrated. This all started way back, I think over a decade ago with Measure E. Then we went through Measure BH. I think we are finally moving in the right direction. I do appreciate that the board took some decisive action this past spring. I am a little bit concerned. I know that at the past board meeting, the board disbanded the FCC, and Ms. Marcus was the only one who supported not disbanding it. So I would have actually, gone along with Ms. Marcus on that vote. But we just have to remain diligent. We have to pay attention. I was treasurer for 3 years. I was also council auditor for a year. So I do know my way around numbers. I know how to, keep an eye on interim reports, budgets versus actuals. It's not difficult. We just have to keep paying attention. I guess my main concern is that I feel like we have a bit of a short-term memory in the district. We seem to not be able to learn from the past or remember the past well enough to admit our faults, admit what we maybe, didn't do right, and move forward with that knowledge so that we don't make the same mistake again. So I believe in having all the historical knowledge available and utilizing it so that we don't make mistakes going forward. I can't make any promises on timelines because, like Ms. Marcus said, we don't have any crystal balls, but I can make a promise that I will pay attention and I will just keep on top of things as I always have.
Thank you. Now, lastly, candidate number 2, same question.
Thank you so much. This is something that I have a lot of expertise on. One of the savings that I operate as an attorney with is trust but verify. So I shared with you guys earlier, I actually was going on site and I was the one doing the investigating on behalf of the district. And I was one of the first advocates to make change. It wasn't popular at that time, but I think from a common sense perspective, from a taxpayer perspective, you could see months ago now that the construction was not progressing and there was no transparency or oversight. So not only did I support the board's majority vote, but I also was one of the first advocates for change. And I really supported the board to engage in best business practices and go for an actual objective bid process to procure a new bond manager. I went so far as sending our RFP to all the construction bond managers that are reputable that I've worked with in Los Angeles to make sure that they're aware of our project. Excuse me. And now we have one that has been hired in accordance with industry standard. And we are already getting fair market value payments, and we're already saving BHUSD money. I supported and promoted the approval of the audit. And also, I have already been in touch. We do have an owner's rep. I do like the new structure that our district is taking. We've got a gentleman with vast experience in construction. He's our director of facilities and construction, and he's going to be reporting to all of us and the board. I also have been advocating for a rollout call meeting. That's something that I did when I was at Panda Express. Every other Monday at 9 a.m., I would want to have a meeting with Mr. Karat, with the construction manager, the bond and construction manager, and the general contractor. I think it's really important to have someone with actual expertise for this really
Sorry, your
pressing
time's
issue.
up.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Oliver Shemtov, and I'm the sophomore representative for Interact Club. Starting with candidate 4, we will move on to the final question. Here's the question. What do you think is the best way to address differences of opinion within the school board or between the school board and the community?
What was the best way to?
What do you think is the best way to address differences of opinion within the school board or between the school board and the community? Now, candidate 4, you can begin.
Thank you for that. So important question. I'm really glad that you are thinking about this. I am all about bringing people together. In order to succeed, you have to be able to understand different perspectives. You don't always have to agree with somebody else's perspective, but you have to recognize that people with different opinions are not evil. So, let's take taxes, for example. Some people feel that taxes should be raised so that you could give even more social services. Some people believe that they've worked really, really hard for what they've earned, and they want to be able to use it for their own food, clothing, movies, whatever. These are two different perspectives. Nobody's evil. It's something that people should be able to get together and talk about. To succeed, you have to be able to solve problems. And there's only two ways to get agreement. Either you can censor the other side, or you can sit down together and have a conversation. And so I am all about recognizing that people have different perspectives, and when you bring different perspectives together and find points where they can enrich each other, you end up with a much greater result.
Thank you. Now, candidate 5, the same question.
Agree to disagree respectfully. I have worked with many different families and from diverse backgrounds, and I know how to set my ego aside and work as a team, collaborate with the board members, the superintendent, and parents, and find common ground and find the solution, and then act on that and deliver positive results for everybody.
Thank you. Candidate 1, the same question.
So it really comes down to just simply treating everyone with dignity and respect. I think especially in our current times, especially with social media, WhatsApp, things can devolve real fast into just shouting matches, or however fast your thumbs can type. You just don't even think about what you're about to say. And really just planning ahead, thinking before you speak or before you text, makes a huge difference. And in addition, I think my history in the district has proven that I do this. This is what I lead with. I didn't actually agree with reconfiguration at first. I said my piece several times at school board meetings back in the day, but I always did so with respect, with dignity for the other side, and also just making sure that any words I used, nothing was personal. It's not about anything being personal. It's about disagreeing, but doing so in a non-personal manner. So that's what I would leave with.
Thank you. Candidate 2.
Thank you for your question. I shared with you earlier that I used to be an in-house attorney for Panda Express, and that was a company at that time with over 20,000 employees. We all read this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and we lived it and we breathed it because that gave us a vocabulary that we all shared. And one of the habits that I love is seek first to understand, then to be understood. I think if you've ever met me, you know that I actually love it when people disagree with me, because for me, it's not about being right, it's about getting it right. And I very much try to seek that truth and figure out, why is somebody disagreeing? What's their perspective? And you'll hear Judy picks up the phone and Judy calls. And what that means is that if Judy hears that somebody thinks a way that she hasn't been perceiving, I don't get intimidated by it and it doesn't irritate me. I'm probably actually fascinated, and I will pick up the phone and I will ask you, can you please join me for lunch? I'd really love to hear what your perspective is on this. Can you teach me about this? And in my practice on a daily basis, I'm dealing with $5, $10, $15, $20 million deals, a lot of egos. I am constantly making sure that there is clarity, consistency, and that we are all crossing the same finish line with respect and courtesy. So that sense of consensus building is something that I do every day in my professional life, and I believe that I can bring that professional perspective and those tools to the board and to this district to really inspire us to communicate and arrive at decisions in a little bit more of a harmonious and collaborative approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate 3, same question.
Well, I'd like to point out that there's 2 different situations here. One is the situation where you're sitting at a board meeting and someone gets up to make a complaint or make a request or whatever they have, and all basically we can do is sit and listen. And believe you me, I do listen, and I do hear what your complaint or you're talking about or what you're trying to drive across to the board. I really do listen to everything you have to say. I might not be able to say anything, but sometimes, maybe now and then, when I might make a response by email, I'd say thank you for that or something like that, but I am listening. The other type of calls we get are from a parent who's calling us disgruntled about one thing or another, and they want me to do something, and I'm not the one that can always do something, but I do follow the following procedure. First of all, I'd like to tell them to tell me, what is your problem? Tell me what is the problem. And so I make them really explain it, and I take notes. And then I say, I want to repeat to you what you just said. So I will repeat to them what their concern is. And then I will say, well, what have you done so far? And they will say, well, they just picked up the phone and called me. They're angry. I said, have you reached out to the teacher yet? Oh, no. Well, if they say they've reached out to the teacher, I say, well, then the next step. And I've tried to explain to them that there is a sequence of people that you should approach with your problem. And one of them is first the teacher, then maybe a counselor, maybe the principal, then maybe the superintendent, but not necessarily a member of the board. But when I do get the problem, I do actually make a phone call to the superintendent and try to alert them to what's going on, because I want them to get results from their complaint or from what they want to know or what they want to have. I feel that's important.
Thank you very much.
Now that we have completed asking all of our questions, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to provide a closing statement, starting with candidate number 5.
Thank you to the students for hosting and facilitating this forum. You guys did an amazing job. Let's give everybody a round of applause. Again, I am pro-parent, pro-student, pro-academics, anti-bureaucracy, and I aim to deliver positive results to this community if elected. I am a results-oriented person. I just want to read something real quick. The role of the school board, according to the California County Board of Education, it is the role of the school board, among other responsibilities, to ensure that the school districts are responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of the community. If I am elected, I will keep that in mind, and I'll advocate for the students and parents and hard academics. Thank you. Oh, polls open October 29th if you want to vote early in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Now candidate number 1.
I'd like to thank Teen BHEF and Rotary as well, Interact. So my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Crosby, she said something to me that has stuck with me on my entire life. And it's basically my life motto at this point. It's 3 little words. It's know your resources. And the way she described that was, it's not about what you know. It's not about what you memorize for tests. It's about when everything comes down to it, if there's an issue, you better know where to go to get the information that you need. And as I've grown and progressed, I realized that the resources that I look to most are the people in our district, the parents, the teachers, the admin, the kids. We are our greatest resource. I've been here for 10 years, and I love this district so much. We have amazing resources here. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with everyone, basically. So I would just like to say that with my real world boots on the ground experience, I love working and getting things done at every level, from the school site level to the district level to the greater parent community and the city. If you are a member of the BHUSD community and you don't know me, I guarantee you that you are only 1 degree away from someone who does, and who can give you an honest assessment of my passion and dedication to this district. And with any kids here who are 18, you can vote too, just reminding you. I'm Faradotis. My name is first on the ballot, so I hope you'll go with Farah first. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Now candidate number 2.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here because this is where I grew up. And I believe that I've had such an amazing combination of personal and professional and academic experiences, all which started out at BHUSD. And this is my home and the place that tremendously shaped my life. For me, it's really bringing to you, your schools, and this district a sense of excellence in all things, whether it's academics, whether it's athletics, whether it's school programs. And I really believe that where we need to head in this district is to recognize that we're representative of our community and we're an international brand that really is run like a local mom and pop. And so I want to bring the excellence across the board and to raise the level of excellence and make sure that you guys have the opportunities that will actually fulfill you and prepare you for college and for the next level. The same thing that I had when I went here and the same thing I've been living all these years. For me, it's not difficult to put myself in your shoes because I've been there. And I'll look forward to being here with all of you. And I ask for your vote and your support come November 8th for Judy Manucheri. Thank you.
Thank you. Now candidate number 3.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the students for this opportunity to speak to you. You gave a lot of thought to your questions, and you should be very proud of how you did this today. So congratulations to all of you. You did yourselves proud. First of all, to be very honest, If you had asked me last April if I was going to be running again for the school board, I would have told you no. But unfortunately, as many of you may know, my life changed at that time when I lost my husband. And at that time, I did not know what I was going to do with all the time now that I would have on my hand, because up to that point, he had been my total concern. So I decided that my true love has always been schools, Beverly Hills, and the such. So I decided to run again. I am the only candidate in this coming election who is running as an incumbent, and I am a sitting board member. After receiving overwhelming support in the 2018 election, I'm now in my 4th year of service on the board. I have immersed myself in every aspect of the district. The institutional knowledge and experience that I have gained is invaluable. I am passionate and dedicated to our schools, our students, and our community at large, and I hope I can count on one of your 2 votes for Rochelle Marcus in the next election. Thank you.
Thank you. Now candidate number 4.
Once again, thank you all so very much. I'm just loving how you as students are taking an active role in determining who and how your schools are run. I am running to represent you, the students. I will listen to you, and I will give you a voice, and that will be a voice with a vote, because your needs are not being met. Everything we do at the school board must be for your benefit, and you do not have time to waste. You are only here for a few years. As a doctor, I can use my medical knowledge, my ability to interpret research, and my common sense to advise on important issues such as pandemics or gender. As an educator, I understand that people have different styles of learning, different interests, and different goals, so I can help BHUSD develop educational pathways that serve all our students. And as a small business owner, I know how to find people whose expertise complements mine to create a complete team. My varied background has prepared me to be a unifying force on the school board. I will work as part of a team and develop solutions that make BHUSD better for you. So please speak with your parents, and if you yourself are old enough, vote for me, Michal Salkin, MD, for school board from now or up to November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of Interact and Teen BHEF, we want to thank everyone for attending this candidate forum.
And we want to thank the candidates for participating. Have a good night.
Thank you.